Leading agri-tech innovation is Sense Hub Dairy, the modular end-to-end dairy system, combining animal behaviour monitoring, milk intelligence and automation in one connected platform, backed by MSD Animal Health.
Alrighty, welcome back to Countrywide Connect. Yes, recent testing has revealed significant parasite burdens in apparently healthy beef cattle, costing farmers production and profitability. Joining us now to discuss that is Greg Mirams, founder and managing director of Techion. G'day, Greg. Welcome to the show, mate. Really appreciate your time.
Andy, nice to see you, mate. Since Wanaka, I think you're looking fitter and healthier since I saw you.
Thanks. I very much appreciate that. Yeah, well, I've been working for a living actually since Wanaka, to be fair. But what a great event that was. That was my first time. I loved it. Yeah,
I haven't been for years, Andy, and it's grown tenfold since I used to stand there selling feed packs back in the day. But it's a pretty cool event for the town for sure.
Oh, it certainly is. Now let's talk about this because faecal egg counts in beef cattle is something which obviously we certainly don't want to have. But you've made a bit of a discovery here. What have you found?
So Andy, it actually happened at duck shooting. You know, all good things happen in the mine.
Of course they do. Yep.
And so we've been working on a new technology to be able to speciate which species of parasite are in a fecal sample by the way they look. So basically it's facial recognition for parasites. Now we've developed and launched this product in sheep, but we've been busy working on the cattle technology. So when I went duck shooting, I said to the boys, like, bring some cattle samples because we're working on some data sets, which they did. And I took them back and we were, whoa, this was a wee surprise. Some of the counts were way over 500 eggs per gram, Andy, and they shouldn't be more than 100. And this allowed us to go, well, this was cattle in West Otago, and this was cattle that was, you know, you were probably a month out from sort of putting on a winter crop, you know, post-weaning. And when we actually did some more diving on that, we found that not only were they high, but when we did the species mix on them, they had a strong presence of homunculus, which is normally a North Island issue. And here it was turning up in West Otago.
So what are we putting that down for? I saw that you described this as a perfect storm. How or what? Is it just weather?
Yeah, look, it's a complex system, Andy, as you know, biology, right? But what we believe is occurring is that we generally had a nationwide moist season. So what you get when that happens is that you get, you know, quite good growthy pastures right through those summer months. And the animals are grazing over those pastures. They are dropping egg counts or eggs onto those pastures. Those larvae are surviving, Andy, because they're not getting burnt off by UV light. So the larval survival is higher because you've had that sort of that thatch of feed and the UV light's not getting in. And in many areas, we didn't have a lot of UV light over the summer. It was quite cloudy and murky. That's all great. Stock generally did well. And then, of course, the autumn comes along. Feed quality drops away. Stock are eating lower. And what we're seeing is the result of that with high challenges of pasture larval levels hitting these cattle in that autumn phase.
Okay, so I get that, and I get that it's a perfect storm, so I get there's higher fecal egg counts, but would farmers not start to see the impact of that in their stock and start to wonder what's going on? I mean, your technology is making it very clear what's going on, right? But yeah. So without the testing, that farmers would be take longer to diagnose?
Yeah, well, it's the iometer, right? You go there and say, those cattle are looking great. And the farmers go, they were really surprised, and they look really good. And I'm going, well, when we actually got those results, Andy, you started, and they knew them.
Yeah.
They actually went, well, when we looked at the mob, we saw this sort of separation. We saw some really good cattle, but the middle, and there was a bit of a tail. When you actually knew that they were carrying a big worm burden, when you looked deeper, you saw these lighter cattle at the bottom end. And unlike sheep, cattle don't show those clinical signs visually as much as a lamb does. You know, a calf just doesn't. it'll be impacting their growth rates, as I said in the article. I mean, you could be losing, half to 2/3 of their growth per day, but you visually don't see it, and that's the trap where it's getting stolen from you. But as soon as you got that egg count data, you go, wow, these are high. Not only are they high, Andy, they're also contaminating these pastures. I mean, you're talking 500 eggs in every gram of material they're passing. That is a really high contamination. So we're pouring out this problem onto those pastures, which is going to haunt us later, which is the other issue.
So you talked about the AI tech to be able to identify the worm burden, right, or the eggs. You also said being able to identify what type. So that would obviously make a difference potentially in the treatment that a farmer's going to use, right? How useful is that?
Yeah, it's extremely useful, Andy, because when we see, if you look at cattle, and this is the same with dairy calves and any young stock, you generally, and this is a generally thing, you see Couperia is the major problem. Then we start to see a bit of Homoncus and a bit of Trichostrongylus occurring in the autumn, and you generally get your Ostatagia later in that spring, in that winter's period. Now, when that starts to change, you can kill Couperia with most of your common orals really quite cost effectively, highly effective. But that changes when you're starting to deal with Trichostrongylus and you're starting to deal with larger animals. And so your choice of compound is often influenced by what that species mix looks like, and also what drench resistance profile you've got occurring on your farm. So the species data becomes increasingly important when you're buying the right drug for the right problem at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're not going in blind with the old, what I used to call the old shotgun effect, right? You just spray, drench blindly, and hopefully you're getting the right one. So the technology that you're using here, your FIC pack, so farmers send samples to you, right? And then you test it, comes back. You talked about AI being able to, like, facial recognition. Is this secret squirrel stuff, how it actually works?
No, not at all, Andy. So there's two forms of accessing this test. If you haven't noticed, we've just launched a relationship with farmlands. So there's going to be easy, cost-effective ability to walk into farmlands, grab a little test kit and get access to this test. So that's the first one. The second one is that you can have this technology on farm, and many farmers will buy a FIC pack unit and they can monitor their own egg count. So there's two entry points that you can access it. We have AI running now, Andy, to basically quickly return those egg count results. So you push the sample up, and in near real time, you get the result back. So that's operating now. So that'll give you baseline worm burden level, but at that point you don't know what's inside that or what makes up that mix, but you do get your count. The new technology that we've developed is that we can put a preparation into the device, and it takes super high resolution images of those parasite eggs, and we can measure them very, very accurately and add features to it, which basically puts them into different buckets because it tells us which type they are. Now, that's not currently AI, that's technicians doing that online. So you push up the image and our technicians log on and say, we've done this, Andy, and you've got 80% Trichostrongylus and 20% Couperia. So you then get that information back. So that's near real time. It will evolve to AI, but we need to do a lot more data actual measurements manually or semi-manually before we can actually get an AI model to do that part.
Okay, it's almost scary the amount of information we can be getting now through using technology, which in the past we had to wait quite a lot of time, almost until you had a negative result, and then you go, okay, or you just had, as I said, a drenching regime where you just blanket drench regardless, right? So it's certainly. What about are there other adaptations for this type of technology? I imagine there's other uses that could be done as well.
Yes, there is, Andy. I've just we're going to be launching at the field days. So we're in the Innovation Awards, and we're launching the new the speciation technology. But the other part is, and I'm just preparing the press release for it now, and that's for facial eczema using the same device, Andy. So you're talking about pasture samples being done through the device. So that's for pasture spore monitoring. But the other dynamic is being able to measure the number of spores per gram of fecal material. And that's really super valuable for particularly a dairy operation where the cows bring the samples into you, and you can push the sample up in a matter of minutes and have a daily spore count of what the cows are actually consuming. Then you know whether to add zinc or move them. So you're able to use management to deal with this disease because you've got this live feedback loop coming in. So you're right, the ringing out of additional tests is really starting to come on stream now.
Yeah, and based on a couple of the interviews we did a month ago with a couple of the scientists from the bioeconomy science talking about now they've identified different spores, some of them being more dangerous than others, not just a straight number, being able to physically identify which spore it is. I can imagine that using this tech will be a massive advantage as well for farmers.
Look, and I think that's the exciting part. Farmers, Andy, have had very little options with facial eczema. And with the work that BSI are doing and the work that the technology, the imaging technology that we're bringing to market, you're quite right. Those two things should, and I'm sure will, continue to work together to provide farmers with more information. You know, we know that, for example, these spores change appearance when they age, and that means that they likely change the level of toxin on them. You know, I see a world where we don't just report spores per gram, we report toxin levels. So I think the industry's now got a wave of tech that's going to enable a lot more of this type of information to be in the palm of the hand for the farmer.
Yeah, and the most important thing about all this tech is the ability to limit use of, say, antibiotic or spray or drench or whatever it is, right? Because we do have to start limiting our use as much as we can.
Well, look, you know, to your point earlier on, you know, shotguns work until they don't, right? Can we get more precision around this in terms of timing and which drug we've chosen to do what thing? If you take eczema, the options are really limited, Andy, because you either start adding zinc, and we know that any dairy farmer will tell you that when you start adding zinc, you'll often see milk production drop because you are having an impact on that animal, which is not, you know, it's not good production-wise, but it might protect them. Now, what we want to do is only do that when your animals are actually exposed to these spores, is one. And the other one is the ways that we can move these cows to other areas where they're not getting the same level of exposure. We've also got, you know, products which you can spray on the pasture, you know, to kill this Pithomyces on the ground. Well, now we've got a tool where you can actually measure how effective that is or not. So it's a really exciting time.
All right, absolutely. Good luck at field days. No doubt we'll probably catch up there at some time. We'll wander through the innovation, and good luck with the awards. I know that they're always very, very well fought, and it'll be good to catch up, Greg. Have a good one, and thanks for your time.
No worries, Andy. Appreciate it. So we'll be at the Farmlands tent if anybody wants to come and see what we're up to.
All right. Yep. Well, we won't be far away from there at some point as well. Greg Mirams there, founder and managing director of Techion. Thanks so much for your time.
Sense Hub Dairy, powered by MSD Animal Health. To learn more about Sense Hub Dairy's modular dairy system that combines animal behaviour monitoring, milk intelligence and automation in one connected platform, visit sensehub.co.nz.